Well, joining us on the news to discuss this is Dr. Masimba Mavaza, a legal representative, a political analyst, and of course, member of the Zambian ruling party, ZANU-PF. Hello, sir. Dr. Mavaza, can you hear me?
Good evening.
Yes, it's nice to have you around. We also have a public affairs analyst, Bolu Michael-Biyi, and he joins me to also discuss this. Now, let me start with Professor Mavaza. For you, what are the international legal implications of the U.S. and Israeli military strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities, of course, under the international laws and, of course, the UN Charter?
Thank you very much. Let me start by correcting that I am not a Zambian, I'm Zimbabwean. So it's Zimbabwean ruling party.
Okay, noted.
Zambian ruling party.
Thank you for the correction.
Thank you. The international legal implications of the U.S. and Israeli military strikes on Iran, that's Iran's nuclear facilities, are significant and far-reaching. The few we can talk of now is that there are violations of the international law. The strikes likely they violate Article 2, subsection 4 of the United Nations Charter, which prohibits the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity of political independence of any state, regardless what we think about that state. The International Commission of Jurists, they've condemned the strikes as a grave violation of UN Charter and international law, emphasizing that nothing under international law or justifies these armed attacks, which are deliberate and which was actually targeting protected civilians. And by so doing, it is actually a breach on international law and a breach on everything else. And again, it is it breaches the principles of self-defense. The concept of self-defense under international law is enshrined in Article 51, yes, it's Article 51 of the UN Charter, allows states to defend themselves if an armed attack occurs. However, the legitimacy of preemptive strikes, like those conducted by Israel and the U.S., is disputed, particularly when assessing the imminence of the threat.
Okay.
The threat from Iran was not imminent, and therefore it is not a defense by America to say Israel is defending itself, which is very unfortunate. And just to sum up the whole question is, I would state that you need to notice one point, that if a country thinks that it's becoming stronger than other countries, then it becomes a bully. In this case, the bully is not Iran, is what America has said.
Okay.
The bully is America itself.
All right. Now, while we continue to debate, thank you so much, Professor Mavaza. I would come back to you in a bit. While we continue to debate this, let me also talk to Michael-Biyi and get his opinion around the president's statements, that is President Donald Trump, claiming that U.S. strikes have stopped Iran's nuclear program for many years, talking about the impact, but then records or reports says otherwise in terms of impact.
Well, President Trump believes that the strike has, made a difference. Setting it back, setting the Iran nuclear program back by many years. And the Defense Secretary is saying something else. The leaked intelligence says that it's just a fraction of what Iran is building, and I want to believe that the whatever knowledge that the president has is from the intelligence sources, from the intelligence officials. So it's somebody between the two definitely is telling a lie, either the president or the defense secretary, and it could also be a political tactic, to kind of shape what they want the world to know or believe, because having contradictory information out there seems to be characteristic of the Trump administration. But also the truth is somewhere in between. The defense secretary has said that's just a preliminary report, which means that whatever is out there is not confirmed yet. It's inconclusive, I think it's too early to say categorically whether the damage that was done was, we set Iran back in years or in months. But it could be that the United States wants to kind of paint themselves in a kind of good way by downplaying the impact of what they did to Iran. That is okay, fine, we struck them, but come on, it's not bad. Or they kind of want to make Iran look bad as well by saying, despite the impact of the things of how the strike that we impacted on them, they still have much more going on that we don't know about. So it's either USA is trying to make themselves look good or to make Iran look bad.
Interesting. Now, Dr. Mavaza, earlier on you said that Israel in this case is a big bully. Okay, so I understand that Dr. Mavaza is yet to have his visuals on, but then we're working on it. So I'll stay with you, Michael-Biyi. Now, earlier on, Dr. Mavaza said that Israel in this case is the big bully. So, I mean, looking at all the parameters on the ground, can Israel use international legal forums like the International Criminal Court of Justice or the UN Security Council to challenge or maybe have them respond to these offensive attacks from Israel, from the U.S.?
Well, the reason why, Israel is such a small country compared to Iran, and Iran, they have a lot of much more resources to be able to, develop a nuclear program or create bombs. They are rich in uranium, which is a critical part when developing these nuclear weapons. So Iran has much more resources than Israel to be able to, meet serious strikes and cause a lot of damage. However, even Israel is being considered, a bully because of the backing of the United States, which is much more a bigger power than even both of them put together. So, and the fact that Israel was the first to attack Iran, so that's why it's being considered a bully. I don't think Israel has a good reputation in terms of in the international organizations right now. Whether it's ICJ or any other, legal jurisdiction abroad, but I think it's been shielded by the United States. So I think take the USA away from Israel, and Israel might find it difficult standing on its own.
But then, is it okay, in your own opinion, in your own view, that Iran has been forced to the table to halt its nuclear program when we still have other countries that are still building their nuclear arsenal covertly?
Okay, the thing about international law frameworks is that you must have certain things in place, whether in your political or government structures or policies or the human rights record, for you to be able to do certain things. For example, if a country is going to join the NATO or the EU, they must have certain record. They must have certain things in place. They must have, for example, they must have good human rights record and the rest. So it's the same thing when it applies to acquisition of, these nuclear weapons. For example, the International Atomic Energy Agency, which is the UN body that oversees this program, they don't feel confident. It's just a trust issue with Iran, being that they don't just trust the government that they'll be able to responsibly use a nuclear weapon or develop a responsible nuclear program. Fine, there are other countries that have it, but they were able to meet certain criteria. Iran also is a signatory to the Non-Proliferation Treaty. However, there have been record of violations and they not been allowing for inspection, which gives concerns as to what exactly are they doing in their country, why are they not allowing inspection. So those things brings about, trust issues. That fine, countries are allowed to have a nuclear program for civilian purpose, for positive purpose. However, they must meet certain criteria and must be transparent as much as possible. And I think that's where Iran is failing and it's bringing some trust issues.
All right, so let me quickly talk to Dr. Mavaza now that we understand he has joined us fully with his visuals. Now, how might the peace talks between Iran and Israel pan out now that we are seeing, these kind of conversations and we understand the impact that these back and forth has had in the Middle East?
It's quite a very interesting scenario. Interesting in the manner that the whole world is waiting to see how is this going to work out. Firstly, you cannot force somebody to a table and believe that he's going to be listening and talking from his heart. there is a talk which is a convenient talk, and there's a talk which is a genuine one. In any developed world, you cannot in any way go to the table and make a discussion with America after you've been on the table with them, and while you were planning another meeting tomorrow, they bomb you overnight. And then they call you and say, come, let's talk again. This time we won't bomb you. That's not the way it would be. I think, in short, Iran can potentially use international legal forums to challenge or respond to the strikes, but it cannot be forced on the table. Even if it's there, we all know that this discussions which are going on, or whatever they want to call them, they cannot bear any fruit. And again, bearing in mind that what America has done has been totally provocative, and has not only provoked Iran, it has provoked other countries who had supported Iran. It has provoked other countries who had sympathized with Iran. And therefore, any talk which is there now is simply buying time. Actually, Iran is using this time to talk while they are regathering, refinding themselves, and getting stronger than they were before they were bombed. And again, a sane person would actually believe that you can have a very fruitful discussion with America when they talk to you during the day and bomb you during the night. So I can, to answer this question in short, that it's very difficult whatsoever for these talks to bear any fruits. But I just wanted to say what I missed when the picture ran away is that the point that the other way Iran can deal with to solve these issues would be simply to go to the International Court of Justice. But going to the International Court of Justice does not bring anything much, because those who control this court are the Americans. And therefore, going there is normally stroking a black mamba. We are in a 50-50 catch-up position, where doing something is doing nothing, and doing nothing is doing something.
Yeah, so that brings me to Bolu now in terms of what needs to be done and what is being done. I mean, Trump says that he plans to talk with Iran, but doubts a nuclear deal is needed. So now he also said that he doesn't want a regime change. So when you listen to Trump, his words and his actions, what do you think the changes will be? Or what are the chances that there will eventually be peace between Israel and, of course, Iran?
Well, it's quite understandable that Trump does not want a regime change, because the supreme leader seems to kind of be in his claws some way. His old man is on his way out. They usually don't want to take people like that away. I think they taking him out may actually trigger other countries, or may get other countries upset and want to fight the U.S. It's going to cause regional conflict. But there's a possibility that Israel and Iran, are gonna, sue for peace. As we're seeing right now, they're respecting the ceasefire. Those are signs that both countries, can actually sit at the table and have, a meaningful conversation and obey international law and actually be peaceful. Like as we're seeing, in the news right now, that this normalcy is being restored in Iran right now, which means that it's a sign that as peace can be restored as quickly as war can destroy as well. And businesses are opening, shops are opening, people are moving around. However, it doesn't come without stress. So it's quite understandable why they would not want to take out the regime, because that might escalate issues within the region. At the same time, we've seen from what we're experiencing right now that it is possible for Iran and Israel to be at peace.
All right. So finally, Dr.